another example, and in this example too, you can see that the bases are not the same. One's 125, the other one's 5. So remember I said it's usually easier to change the larger base to the smaller one. So I want to change 125 so it is something to the power of 5. So again, if I don't know it off right away, I'm going to take my calculator and do some guessing. So I want to take my 125 and I want to change its base to 5 to the power of something. Now, it doesn't take too much work to guess and check with my calculator, and I find that I want the number 3. So then what happens is I go over to my question after I get my pen to go where I want it to go, and I'm going to change 125 to 5 to the power of 3. I keep the other one the same, and what I need to do now is my bases are the same. They're both 5. Therefore, the 3 has to equal the x plus 1. Now it's much easier to solve for my x. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, and I end up with 4 equals my x. Okay, let's go down further, and this time we have 4 to the x equals 8. Now when I look at this one, just like the previous one, my bases are not the same. So some way I have to get both of them to be the same. So like the other ones, I'm going to take the 8 and I'm going to try to turn it into the base of 4. So 8 equals something to 4 to the power of something. Well, I know 4 times 2 equals 8, but not 4 to the power of 2. So we have a dilemma here in the sense that I'm not able to change the 8 to the power of a 4 to the power of something. So sometimes I'm going to have to change both bases. So in this case, I'm going to have to change both of them. And again, it's usually smaller numbers that we're working with. Well, I know that 4 is the same as 2 squared. And I also know that 8 is 2 to the power of 3. So we're going to do 2 substitutions. The 4 I'm going to change to 2 squared. Okay, but I also have an x there, so I have to, okay, so what's happening there is the x is still there, and all I've done is I've changed that base 4 to 2 squared. And I'm going to change the base of 8 to 2 cubed. Now I'm almost done. You can see I have a power to a power. Power to power says I must multiply. So I have to multiply the 2 times the x, which is just 2x. So that's not too bad. Equals to the power of 3. Now what I need to do, my bases are the same. They're both 2. Therefore, the 2x has to equal the 3. So if I divide both sides by 2, I end up with my x equaling 3 halves. Okay. Now let's look at another question. Oops, sorry, that disappeared on us. In fact, actually, I can just get rid of our screen now since we don't need it. And this time, this question looks a lot different than our other ones. Now, the way it looks different is all the other ones we had a number equals a number. Okay, all of them were like that. A number equals a number. This time I have a number minus a number equals 0. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set it up the same way as the other ones. So I can't really do anything with 81 to the power of 3x plus 1. But I could add 1 to both sides, and then at least I would have a number and equals a number. So when I add 1 to both sides, what we end up having then is our 81 to the power of 3x plus 1 equals 1. Now, if you remember in one of the earlier videos, 1 is kind of special. I can change it to equal any base I want. So in this case, I need the base of 81 because that's what the other side has. So I'm going to change 1 to 81 to the power of 0. Now, if I didn't have an 81, if I had 2 here, I would have changed the 1 to 2 to the power of 0. So the next step then is going to change the 1 to 81 to the power of 0. Now you can see that our bases are the same. They're both 81. Therefore, that means that the 3x plus 1 has to equal 0. Okay? So you can see that this question now is, again, no harder than the other questions. So we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. And sorry about putting that little dot there. There we go. And when we do that, we end up with 3x equals negative 1. And finally, divide both sides by 3. So we end up with x equals negative 1/3. All right. So these, once you get bases are the same, then usually you're left with a fairly easy equation to solve for x. Good luck with your questions. Remember, you have a test coming up soon.